and we'll see. Rob, are you able to hear me now?
I've just told him to make sure his volume is up on his computer.
Okay, so I let Joel, I'm sorry, I let Rob know that I'm going to go ahead and start so he can hopefully hear once he figures out his speakers.
Yeah, and I can start the meeting until he can
Great.
figure it out.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Perfect. Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, November 17th, 2021 meeting of the Gloucester Conservation Commission. The time is 6:04 p.m. Consistent with Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and participate when necessary. Persons who wish to do so are invited to view the meeting at the link provided on the City of Gloucester Remote Meetings website under Conservation Commission, Wednesday, November 17th, 2021. Or they may join by phone by any of the phone numbers provided on the meeting notice and agenda using the webinar ID 851-0850-8203. In the event that a live transmission proves unworkable for any reason, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the meeting will be made available on the city's website as soon as possible. Items on the agenda that are approved to be issued by the Conservation Commission at this meeting will be issued with the date of December 2nd, 2021, and the upcoming meetings for the end of the year are December 1 and December 15 for potential continuations. On that note, a revised meeting notice and agenda was posted this afternoon with requests to continue, and I'll walk through them now. RDA 1703 Salt Island requests to continue to January 5th, 2022. RDA 1713 101 Eastern Ave requests to continue to December 1. NOI 0282811 14 Fort Hill Ave requests to continue to December 1. Also NOI 028XXXX2 Howard Road at the last minute request to continue to December 1. And NOI 028XXXX 10 Waterside Lane request to continue to December 1. With that, I know that our chairman, Mr. Rob, is back. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay. I will happily turn the floor to you.
Okay. I had to go to another computer, but I don't know what happened to that one. All righty then. So we start administrative briefing. Have we gone that far yet?
We're here for the administrative briefing. Commissioners, just the only item I want to point out to you is that I will be circulating around the calendar for 2022 in the interim of this meeting and the next that my clerk has just drafted for me yesterday, and we will hopefully approve that for our meeting cycle for next year.
Okay, excellent. Next up is the public comment period. This is the period of the meeting with the period during the meeting when the public is welcome to speak towards conservation issues that are not, I repeat, not on tonight's agenda. So if anybody wishes to speak towards a conservation issue, you may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, there are 21 attendees on the call tonight and no hands raised at this time.
Hearing none, seeing none, we'll close public comment period. Minutes review and approval. We have two up, October 20th, 2021 and November 3rd, 2021. Is everybody ready to approve those, or anyone not ready?
In that case, Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the Conservation Commission meeting minutes for October 20th, 2021 and November 3rd, 2021 as amended.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook is not here tonight. Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes. Next up, continued business, RDA 1703 Salt Island Road, Salt Island LLC. Martin Yeti is the applicant. The applicant requests a continuation to June 5th, 2022.
January 5th.
I'm sorry, January 5th, 2000.
I'm sorry, I was writing something down. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue RDA 1703 Salt Island to the Conservation Commission meeting of January 5, 2022.
Charpentier seconds.
A roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next is RDA 1713 101 Eastern Avenue, Braga, requests a continuation to December 1st, 2000.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue RDA 1713 at 101 Eastern Avenue to the Conservation Commission meeting of December 1st, 2021.
Charpentier seconds.
A roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up is RDA 1717 $19 Dolliver's Neck Utility Improvement Association, New England Civil Engineering Corps. Someone here for that?
Yes, my name is Bill Ross. I'm with New England Civil Engineering. And we
Thank
were
you, sir.
hired.
Give a brief description of the project.
Yes, we were hired by the newly formed Dolliver's Neck Utility Improvement Association. They formed the association to fund the utility project, which is a water main upgrade. They had very poor water pressure, so they called the city out to do a leak detection. The city determined that the water main was leaking in the marsh. They had about 15 to 20 PSI of pressure, which is below the minimum of what you would expect. So we designed a new water main for them. We met with Adrian out on site to review the project. The project involves relaying a new plastic, a PVC water main for about 700 feet on a paved road, which is Dolliver's Neck Road. And they made the connection at the end in the, it's not in the marsh, in the parking area. I can't point it to her screen, but you see where this ends on the second panel. At that point, they connected to the old water main and brought it back into service. The project was not in a resource area, but it was in the buffer zone of numerous resource areas, including the Barrier Beach and Coastal Beach. They laid out erosion and sedimentation control along the edge of the road, and but the work did remain in the paved surface. We were going to file an RDA because we consider it an exempt activity to do maintenance on an existing utility. This is a bit unusual because it's an emergency and the project is actually complete at this point, now that we're meeting with you.
Okay, thank you, sir. We had a couple of concerns, I believe, but let's just do it in the normal procedure, which is first I'll open up for public comment. Anybody in the public who wants to speak for or against the project at 14 Fort Hill Ave may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
There are 10 attendees on the call at this time and no hands. Thank you.
Okay, next up would be roll call comments from the commissioners.
Sure. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Charpentier,
I have no comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent,
Now it's already in, it doesn't matter, but my concern was if it went all the way to Muscle Point Road, what factors were taken into place where it had to cross the intermittent stream that's just down from the connection to Muscle Point Road?
The water main passed under the concrete pipe, which was intact in
Okay,
the
thank you.
roadway.
okay. Co-Chairwoman Jackson
No comments.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comment.
Thank you.
So with that, then, if there aren't any more comments to add, we can move to this is an RDA. I mean,
Okay.
yes, it's an RDA, so we can vote on it now.
Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1717 at 19 Dolliver's Neck.
Charpentier seconds,
Roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes,
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination on RDA 1717 at 19 Dolliver's Neck.
Charpentier seconds,
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're all set. We got a little concerned about that stream in the area, so we just want to make sure we didn't have a problem. But
Nope,
thank you for
understood.
coming
Yeah,
out.
it was in good shape. Sometimes they're not, but this was fine.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Next up is ANRAD 28-26517- and then 28-1R Magnolia Avenue, Howe Mag LLC, Mike DeRosa of DeRosa Environmental Consulting representing.
Mr. Chairman, I received an email from Mr. DeRosa this afternoon at exactly 6:03 PM requesting to continue to December 1.
Okay,
Commissioner
do it.
Jackson moves to continue NRAD 0282765 at 171 to 281 Rear Magnolia Avenue to the Conservation Commission meeting of December 1.
Charpentier seconds,
Roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
yes.
Thank you.
The next up would be notice of intent 28-2811, 14 Fort Hill Avenue, 14 Fort Hill Avenue nominee trust, Elizabeth Wallace at Hayes Engineering, Inc., representing, they're requesting a continuation to December 1st, 2021.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282811 at 14 Fort Hill Ave to the Conservation Commission meeting of December 1st.
Charpentier seconds,
Roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. And Joe, can you take over? I'll be recusing on this next two.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have NOI still an unassigned DEP number.
Yes.
Okay, at 105 Wingershik Road. Do we have a representative?
Yes. Good evening. For the record, again, Joel Pavaza, Seaside Legal Solutions, here on behalf of 125 Wingershik LLC, which is the owner of 105 Wingershik. I will be, at the conclusion of my comments tonight, asking for a continuance, but I thought the commission deserved a quick update as to the work that's been done since we last spoke about this. and with the chair's permission to also just make sure we navigate a path forward that makes sense for this commission and for the applicant. So as far as the updates go, we have submitted additional fee to DEP, and we have mailed in a check to the City Hall Annex. I don't think Adrian will have received it as of tonight's meeting, but it's on its way. Checks in the mail, right? Very believable. And I realized how that sounded as it came out. And then secondly, there was concerns from the butters last time about the proximity of one of the walkways to some of the trees that they were concerned about. And so we're in the process of having the plans redrawn to move the walkways a sufficient distance so that neither their use nor their installation or removal will impact those trees going forward. And you will receive those hopefully well in advance of your next meeting so that they can be reviewed and digested before this gets taken back up. The second part that I was hoping to discuss briefly with the board was the question of whether this comes through as a single NOI or two separate NOIs. And with due credit to the conservation agent, she's articulated some very, understandable arguments as to why having these two single family homes come in as two separate NOIs would be administratively preferable. And I'm here to ask for permission to continue both of these houses under a single NOI and try to give some rationale behind why I need to do this a somewhat more difficult way procedurally than would be optimal. And that boils down to the site history. And as this commission knows, there is a plan currently approved for a single family house on the entirety of this lot. It has received all the necessary approvals, including an order of conditions from this commission to get it to the point where it has a building permit. And we cannot cut this lot up until we have all of our requisite approvals for these two smaller single family buildings in hand, even as even conditional approval. So if it's an order of conditions conditioned upon the division of the lot, so be it. Board of Health approvals conditioned on the splitting of the lot, so be it. Zoning board approvals conditioned on the splitting of the lot, that's all fine. But we can't start treating this like two official separate lots from a legal standpoint and redraw that lot line until we have all of our approvals in hand for these two single family homes, because by drawing that lot line in a legal capacity, we put the already approved design in jeopardy. And so that's why I'm not trying to be difficult for difficult sake, because we're in a very bizarre situation here where we have a hard fought design that has been permitted. We are trying to permit a alternative design that we think is going to be more acceptable to the neighbors. We can't give up on that first one until we know the second one is viable, and viability requires a pile of permits. So that would be the only reason why I would respectfully request that we continue to push this through on a single NOI, treating this as one lot for now, on which these two houses will be built. And then in the future, if we're successful and these houses are built, we would have to go through, again, the more cumbersome process of either releasing one of the new lots at a time or holding one lot hostage until the second one is completed as well. But, I've looked at this from a lot of different angles, and I can't see another safe path forward for my client without keeping this treated as one project, despite the fact that the end goal is to split this into two separate parcels with a house on each. And so I just want to kind of put that out there. The commission doesn't have to necessarily come up to an answer tonight, but I wanted to kind of explain the rationale and make sure that you didn't think I was being confrontational for the sake of being confrontational on this one little issue. And with that, I would ask for continuance to your next meeting if there's no further discussion. If there's discussion, happy to have it, but I'll leave that to your discretion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Adrian, do you want to comment on this now or later?
Sure. So there's been a little bit of a discussion about how to proceed with this particular project. Typically, when the commission is permitting multiple structures on a single lot that are subject to subdivision, we see the subdivision first. So for example, on Cliff Road, it is a 3-home subdivision and we permitted 3 parcels. On the back shore, there were 3 homes and also the hotel that were all permitted as 4 parcels. On Stanwood Point, we had the ANRAD and then a subdivision, and we permitted 4 different permit numbers for each duplex. So this is definitely out of turn, and it is not necessarily something that the commission cannot do. However, every single approval will be subject to this subdivision, and ultimately we would be assigning a DEP number to 2 parcels into the future. And just as the applicant's representative has stated, it's essentially holding one parcel hostage to the other, and where our permit timeline is a minimum of 3 years to include what will definitely be restoration planting on the dune face. The applicants may never have a clear title. So understandably, it appears that the applicant's representative is going to go forward regardless because he has submitted the fees to the DEP and to the Conservation Office to construct 2 structures on a single parcel. And so now if in fact the checks are in the mail, then when they clear, that essentially settles the argument. It's not up for discussion. However, I just want to make it very, very clear that I strongly suggested the applicant's representative pursue the subdivision first. Also because Title V does not allow the construction of 2 septic systems on 1 parcel. And in this case, the applicant's representative was able to receive very conditional approval from the Board of Health, but no issuance of a permit at this time. And so I can see what the objective is here, but I think that the commission should think really carefully about what the impact is of these 2 structures on what would potentially be 2 lots, and how we can protect ourselves in the future in the Conservation Office from what will no doubt be at least 1 angry homeowner when the time comes for a certificate of compliance.
Okay. Okay, let me just make a couple of notes here.
Again, the burden is upon the applicant to proceed, and as I've said, their representative has obviously made a choice to pay the 2 filing fees under 1 DEP file number, so we don't really have a discussion to have here. This is how they've decided to go forward. We just need to think carefully about what we do to protect ourselves. I will say on this particular project, I noted in the notice of intent application that in this case, the resource areas are they're identified as approximate by the civil engineer who did the survey work. And I think that at a minimum, the commission may consider protecting themselves by either asking the applicant to hire a wetlands scientist to appropriately delineate the resource areas, to include the scope of the National Heritage Endangered Species Program resource area for piping plover nesting habitat, or the commission request to hire a third party of their own to affirm those boundaries.
May I respond?
Yes,
Thank
if
you.
you're through, Adrian.
I'm through for now.
Thank you.
So to that last point, we are using the delineations that were deemed satisfactory to this commission, relatively recently. Last time an NOI came forward and an order was issued. And, I would kind of respectfully request that we be allowed to, move forward with what was deemed sufficient last time. If you are going to request additional information, I guess I would ask sooner rather than later that determination be made officially, so that if necessary, my client can get to work and making sure that we can supplement the package that we sent in. But again, I would remind the commission before making that decision that the information on the plans before you tonight were sufficient last time we were here seeking the permit a greater footprint worth of structure on this property.
Thank you, Mr. Rafaza. Keep in mind, please, that you're the one who changed the conditions of our discussion here, or are trying to. I'm going to go through with public comment and commissioner comments at this time. And then we'll kind of come back to that and do your continuations for you. Okay, this time we'll open up for 105 Wingershik lots A and B for public comment.
Okay, there is one hand up right now. Ronald McNeil. I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. There are 12 attendees on the call.
Hi, my name is Ronald McNeil. I am of the Archer family of 103 Wingershik Road. This property, 105 Wingershik Road, is one of the last remaining densely populated vegetative, or it's one of the last properties with dense vegetation left. I don't understand how a development, especially two buildings, will with replanting, match the amount of natural growth and the old root systems that are holding this very alive sand dune together. So that being said, like 3 weeks ago, there were piping plovers down there, and any previous permit or permission is 3-4 years old now, and the sand dunes are shifting constantly. So the numbers are different, the space is different, and I just don't see how any old permission would be viable for any new plans moving forward. That's all I have to say today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else who wishes to comment?
I see no other members of the public to comment at this time. There are 11 attendees on the call. We have 8 panelists to include myself and the commission. If you are a member of the public and you're interested in commenting, please click the raise your hand button. If you're calling from a smartphone or from a laptop, you can also dial *9 if you're on a phone.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Moving on for commissioner comments. In particular, I would like to hear your feelings about Adrian's recommendation that in order to protect our decision, we hire a separate wetland scientist, or a wetland scientist is hired. Adrian?
Okay, for commissioner comments. Oh, and I also just wanted to point out, I'll respond here quickly to the public comment to say every review is a de novo review. So while the applicant may certainly reference previous authorizations of all kinds, it does not change the fact that we are looking at this project as though we are viewing it for the first time. Having said that, because the applicant's representative has referenced the previous project, I just want to confirm with you, I believe that your previous Board of Health septic approval for the single family home project was for a 5-bedroom septic. Is that correct?
You're asking me, Adrian?
Yeah.
I would have to go back and look. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, so I just want to point out to the commission, in this case, I believe that the single family home that was previously approved was for a 5-bedroom septic, and here just today I confirmed with the interim director of the Board of Health that each parcel here is approved for a 5-bedroom septic. So there will be 2 5-bedroom septics as part of this subdivision. With that, commissioner comments, Commissioner Charpentier.
Yeah, I agree with the wetlands delineation, especially in light of what the comments previously were about the shifting dunes and so forth. And I'm still confused as to, I mean, is this whole issue of 1 parcel to 2 parcels or back to 1 parcel, is that all due to a timing issue in trying to get various approvals? And if so, what is the time frame for those approvals?
Okay.
Because I'm confused about this.
Commissioner Gradwall.
I think that the wetland scientists should be required, especially concerning the dunes. But also if you've got 2 5-bedroom houses, that's 1,100 gallons a day that they've got to get rid of. That's a lot of liquid. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sargent.
Yes, there are two issues I'd like to address. One is, I seriously have concerns about, the wetland delineation, the pervious nature of Wingershik Road. I'm wondering if somehow those two sunken areas at the front could be considered part of the BVW. And to Joel's point about it being a one application, I'm wondering if this might potentially go before planning board as an A&R and then have a common drive where the existing driveway is. If we find that the other lot would be encroaching on what may be a BVW. I'd be interested in his response.
Okay. And Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
I support the idea of another wetland scientist examining the boundaries and the habitat issues and, if possible, even the septic issues. So with that, Mr. Vavaza, did you want to respond to Mr. Sargent's comments or Nelson's?
Sure. So I can, the common driveway issue, I want to make sure I go through the zoning ordinance again before I speak to that. I believe we looked at that as a potential. It was not going to qualify into the zoning ordinance for a common driveway, but I don't want to state that without having the reason behind me. So I'm happy to supplement that when I file any supplemental paperwork on this before your next meeting. As to the delineation, that's fine. I appreciate the feedback. We can certainly have a wetland scientist add data to the plan set to make sure that it accurately reflects what is out there. And we will make note of the concern regarding BVW and the roadway and let the wetland scientists provide their opinion as to what impact, if any, that has on the plan. And then to answer Ms. Charpentier's question as to the timeline, the basic answer is this, to be very blunt about it, the applicant has permission to build a house that the neighborhood doesn't want. And so this is his last effort to try and find something workable for the neighborhood. And so we can't do anything that would jeopardize the approval he has. So if he gets denied here, he gets denied somewhere else, he can go and build this house that the neighborhood does not want. And he's trying to avoid having to build that house by coming forward with this, design for 2 separate houses. But he certainly can't be left with a sandy lot that is not buildable. And so he can't do anything through this alternative process that jeopardizes the approvals he already has. So the last thing we have to do, the very last step has to be drawing that lot line, because when we draw that lot line, it jeopardizes the approvals he already has. So we have to get all the other approvals for this alternative design lined up, conditioned upon this lot line being drawn, then draw the lot line to make these approvals final, and he can abandon finally the plan for this house that nobody wants. If he can't get his approvals, he has to build, but he has approval to build, which would be that larger house. And so that's where we are here, trying to be as straightforward as possible.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so you have the commission's feelings regarding another wetland survey. I will leave it to you and to the agent to work out the specifics of that. Does that work for you, Adrian?
I just want to be clear here. My recommendation to the commission is that the commission obtain a wetlands consultant as a third-party review.
Okay, that wasn't quite clear. It was kind of presented as 2 different options, I think. At least I heard it that way.
Yes, and you, certainly the applicant's representative is welcome to engage a consultant for the commission to have confirmed as part of the project review, but I do think that it's important that the commission does protect themselves through this.
Okay.
Do you need us to have a formal updated delineation to then be reviewed, or will a third-party reviewer be able to come in and kind of delineate on their own? Based
I
on
think because you have the approximation, we can do that on our end.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, do you need a vote? for-
Adrian needs an order from the board to go ahead and send out for contracts for this agent.
That's correct.
Right, I was just going to ask her if she needed a vote for that. Okay, Linda, do you want to make a motion to that regard?
Yeah, Charpentier moves to request a third-party delineation for the commission.
Gradwell seconds.
Roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes,
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes,
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay. Unless there's any further discussion, then we can continue these two lots to what meeting would you like, Mr. Favazza?
Well, if there's third-party review taking place, I imagine this will not be ready for December. I would ask, I guess we push out to January at that point. That sound reasonable, Adrian?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that would be January
January
5th.
5th.
You want to go with January 5th?
That would be fine with me, thank you.
Okay, Linda?
Can we do them together or do you want to do them separately?
Well, they will be listed in the future as 105 Uyghur Sheik Road, lots A and B under one notice of intent file number, because that's the decision of the applicant.
Okay, so Charpentier moves to what do we want to do? Reschedule?
Continue?
To continue, I couldn't find the word. Charpentier moves to continue NOI 028 XXXX 105 Winger Sheet Lot A and 105 Winger Sheet Lot B to the commission meeting of January 5th, 2022.
and Gradwell seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes,
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you all. And I just want to point out the 4 of you are the quorum to vote on this hearing. So you'll have to be present every time we open the hearing in the future.
okay.
I will be able to be present January 5th and very probably the 19th. I can't guarantee much beyond that.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next up, Rob needs to come
I'm
back.
back.
All right, then I'll let you
Mhm.
take over to Howard Road.
Thank you. Notice of intent. Do we have DEP numbers on this yet, Adrian, or?
No, and I also received an email from Mr. David Kelly between the end of workday today and the beginning of this meeting requesting to continue to December 1 because there is no DEP number at this time.
Okay. So we
Then
might as well-
Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah, there we
Commissioner
go.
Jackson moves to continue NOI 028 unassigned DEP number to Howard Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of December 1st, 2021.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes,
Commissioner Gradwell,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes,
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes,
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up is notice of intent 28-2813, 16 Fort Hill Square, Javid Cortez, Dan Ottenheimer of Mill River Consultant representing.
Good evening, Commissioners. Dan Ottenheimer, engineer with Mill River Consulting. The acoustics okay? Can you hear me?
yes,
Yep.
Great, hi. So we are revisiting a project we discussed at the last meeting at 16 Fort Square. And you can see the parcel in the aerial image that Adrian has brought up. Essentially, the project is proposing a small parking area, 340 square foot parking area that you see in gray in the in front of the house on the rendering that's in front of you. The commission had some good insight at the last meeting, so just bring you up to speed on what's unfolded. So basically the project is to remove a granite block wall that's along the street line and to put in a parking area that you see in gray. Thank you, Adrian. On the edge of it is going to be a new wall in order to hold back some of the earth. One of the commissioners asked what it's going to be made of and whether we needed filter fabric. It was an excellent question, Commissioner Gradwall. That's going to be a poured concrete wall. So we don't need filter fabric behind that. We're also going to need to build new access stairs and a deck in the front of the house. So that's essentially the core of the project. Since our last meeting, we have added the topography onto the site plan. We have also added the addition that's going to go on the third floor. It's over the existing structure, so it's not necessarily subject to the commission's jurisdiction, but we didn't want any questions or complications, so we're just sharing that with you. That's a small bump out on the third floor. We have most significantly taken your advice and we've changed the driveway from what was proposed to be asphalt to a permeable material that will absorb the water. And on the plan, we showed two options because the owner was not certain which one to select. One is going to be either be made out of a plastic grid and the other one made out of concrete. They have since decided to go with the plastic grid option, but essentially the commission can be assured that there will be a non-asphalt driveway. It will be permeable for the absorption of water. That said, we are still keeping the proposed double the amount of native species planting in the yard. And I think we've hit on most of what the commission wanted and would encourage your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Ottenheimer. Next up, I'll open up for public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 10 Waterside Lane? You may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, we're at 16 Fort Square. I think you had indicated a different address. Yes,
Well,
I'm
nobody
sorry,
else
sir.
jumped out. I guess everyone's on board with that. All right, let's try that again. If anybody wishes to speak for or against the project at 16 Fort Hill Square, you may do so now.
Fort Square, Rob.
What?
Fort Square.
Oh, my document says Fort Hill.
I know, but it's Fort Square.
Oh, okay. Fort Square may do so by hitting the raise your hand button or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Okay, there are 17 attendees on this call at this time and no members of the public to comment.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next up is commissioner comments. Do you want to roll through those, Adrian?
Okay, commissioner comments, Commissioner Charpentier.
I'm pleased to see the new choices in the driveway materials and the consideration that was given to that. Otherwise, no comment.
Commissioner Gradwall.
I want to compliment him on coming up with a nice, easy way to address it with that plastic grid. Good job on that, Dan.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yeah, I want to thank you for the revisions. I think it was a good job. I have a couple of questions. Is the grassed area at the foot of the proposed driveway going to be removed? And is it going to be replaced with asphalt? And any thought about replacing the existing asphalt driveway with pervious pavers as well? It would be meaningful mitigation and it would have a more uniform appearance. And there should be a 2 or 3 year monitoring of the mitigation plantings. That's it.
Okay, and we'll finish commissioner comments.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No further comments. Thank you for the changes. They're very positive.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comment.
Thank you.
So with that, Dan, you want to answer there were a couple questions there. I think you already answered, but if you could go through Mr. Sargent's questions, that'd be great.
Yes, of course. So you are correct. There's an area off of our property that is currently vegetated that it's about 3 or 4 feet wide or so until you get to the edge of the pavement of the street, which is named Fort Square. We don't own that. That's a public road. So it'll be up to the DPW as to what happens in that intervening stretch. But I would suspect it would be asphalt because that is what the city has historically wanted within their rights of way. And that's obviously what is in the rest of the layout of Fort Square. So I would expect that that'll end up being asphalt. In terms of the existing driveway, there are no plans to adjust that at this time. I will talk to the owners about that and see if they'd be amenable. But I would like to ask the commission's consideration that that would be potentially a separate and additional benefit. But I do think we've provided certainly sufficient mitigation for this particular project. And then the third point, which is an excellent one, no problem with a 2-year plant monitoring scenario. That's standard and makes good sense.
Thank you, Mr. Ottenheimer. Dave, did that answer all your questions or no?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, if anyone does, if no other commissioners have any other comments, we can move to close the hearing, I think.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the hearing, the public hearing for NOI 0282813 at 16 Fort Square.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282813 at 16 Fort Square with the aforementioned conditions.
Charpentier seconds?
The roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook, is not here. Commissioner Gradwell,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's it for
Wonderful.
old business. Moving on to.
Thank you,
new-
commissioners.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to new business, we have RDA 1718 Goose Cove Reservoir, City of Gloucester, Ryan Marks, City Engineer representing.
Now, Commissioners, Mr. Marks is on the call. However, if we can table this to the end and go through the next few, he does need a couple minutes, he's working through technical difficulties.
Sounds good. We can move on to notice of intent 20 no DEP number at this time, 10 Waterside Lane, McCaldy, Roger McCaldy, applicant representing. Requested to continue the project to December 1, 2021.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028 unassigned DEP number at 10 Waterside Lane to the Conservation Commission meeting of December 1st.
Charpentier seconds?
The roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
no,
also not. Commissioner Gradwell,
yes,
opposite side of the agenda, so I'm going down the roll call and let me just cross his name off here, so I'll stop doing that. Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So why don't we move down if Ryan needs some more time to the extension request?
Go ahead.
So
So this request, 0282941, 211 East Main Street is Beacon Marine Basin. The commission issued a permit for the replacement of piles several years ago and actually has already issued an extension on this order of conditions because the pile replacement is still not complete. There was a delay due to COVID. And so the applicant has requested an additional 2-year extension to try to complete the pile replacement project.
How long till they, how many, they already have one, this will be their last, will this bring them into their 6th year or?
This will bring them into 6 years. That's correct, I believe.
Okay, so as long as you just let them know that if they don't get it done in this loop, they'll have to probably refile.
Right.
Okay, why don't we open up for commissioner comments?
Commissioner comments on this? Commissioner Charpentier,
No comment.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comment, just a note to let them know that they're climbing, they're getting close to the end of their cycle on this. So with that, you want to put forth a motion? Angel?
Sure. Is this for a 1-year extension?
2-year.
2-year, okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve extension EXT 0282491 at 211 East Main Street for a 2 years extension.
Charpentier seconds.
And roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes,
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to take us back now to Goose Cove.
So for the record, we're reviewing RDA 1718 Goose Cove Reservoir, City of Gloucester, Ryan Martz, City Engineer, representing.
No problem. And I'm actually going to cover for Ryan a little bit here and we'll see if he can get on.
Okay.
Just to describe the work that the DPW has been working on and the engineering department on the Goose Cove Reservoir. In the spring, I think you'll recall, we had some issues with flooding just below the spillway, and that was actually compromising the structural integrity of the dam itself. And so the DPW did have to go in. There was a beaver dam, a very large beaver dam, that was causing a backup of water just directly below the face of the dam. And so there was a permit issued through the DEP for trapping and removal of beavers. We were not able to actually capture any beavers on that effort. But as part of that emergency cert and permit through the Board of Health to protect the surface water and public water supply, the DPW did go in by hand and dismantle some part of the dam so that there was water flowing downstream and taking the pressure off of the dam structure itself. So beavers, of course, are going to be an ongoing issue for the city. The new city engineer, Ryan Marks, and also new environmental engineer and water department head, Dana Martin, are pretty focused on trying to improve the water quality situation in Gloucester East of the water supply, which is both Babson and Goose Cove. And so there are future permits coming through in an effort to try to restore some of the original flow patterns of water that has kind of changed and shifted naturally as a result of lack of maintenance over the last 20 or 30 years or so at both Goose Cove and Babson. So a sort of Band-Aid short-term improvement that the DPW aims to do here is to just create a small earthen berm next to the existing roadway to protect the roadway here and try to prevent the beaver pond from expanding into the roadway and then up towards the spillway and the dam face again. All of this is within the existing footprint of the reservoir infrastructure. And so it is actually an exempt activity in the utilities exemption for the protection of the public water supply. However, because we anticipate a good deal of future permitting at both Goose Cove and at Babson, the effort here is to create a historical chain of permitting for the DPW to point to when applying for financial support through DCR and multiple other state agencies, and also for future notice of intent work that's going to be more permanent to restore and improve the infrastructure as it is. I will happily answer questions on behalf of Mr. Marks.
Okay, I don't see anything. It seems pretty straightforward to me. We've dealt with this, I think, similar issues with this area before, but I think this year, because of the weather, maybe it was a little more stressed. I don't know. But I'm fine if you want to just roll through commissioners and see if they have any other comments.
This is an RDA, so we can open up to the public as well.
Okay, if anybody wishes to speak for or against the RDA at Goose Cove Reservoir, RDA 1718 Goose Cove Reservoir for Ryan Marks, city engineer representing, may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Okay, so there are 3 attendees on the call at this time and no members of the public to comment.
Mhm.
Ryan's showing up here.
He's here, but he can't get his sound to work. So he's on with us.
We must.
He's listening
He
to me.
lives near me. Maybe we're having an event around here.
I'll go through commissioner comments. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwall,
2-foot high berm on existing roadway, no comment.
okay. Commissioner Sargent,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So with that, I mean, Mr. Marks is obviously having issues. I think we can, I feel comfortable voting on this in abstention to his comments unless you think he needs to add to this, Adrian.
No, I don't think he's going to have anything to add at this time.
Okay, then I say we move on.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1718 at Goose Cove Reservoir.
Charpentier seconds.
On a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1718 at Goose Cove Reservoir.
Charpentier seconds.
Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Marks, for being here. Tell me if I missed anything. I think I got it all. We've been working closely on this. So I'm looking forward to the commission actually having the opportunity to see some of the future plans. We have been talking a lot about doing habitat and resource area restoration as in an effort to improve the surface water quality, both at Babson and Goose Cove. So I'll be pretty excited to see those come before the commission because it's really great work for your public water supply. Anyway,
10, 12 years ago, when I came onto the commission, Dave Sargent took me for a tour up there to address the beaver problems. Mr. Sargent, it didn't work.
Just saying.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, Adrian, you want to add?
I think I got 4 new filings today for December 1st. So we will have a pretty good meeting, but I don't think it's going to be totally overwhelming, which is nice. And I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving week. I will be on vacation, but not really. I will be moving my mom out of assisted living, so I will not be in the office. I'm moving her to an apartment about a mile away from where I live. So
Nice.
I'm assuming that's a good,
Yeah.
that's good. That's great to hear.
So Adrian, will we have documents to sign?
yes, I will have your signature pages downstairs tomorrow for noon, and they'll be down there all week. Just be
Okay.
advised, City Hall is closed on Thanksgiving and the Friday after.
Okay, well, good luck with your mom and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
Commissioner
and we'll move
Jackson
to adjourn.
moves to adjourn.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chair Mangala.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One last thing before everyone goes, Ann Jo kind of dipped her toe into it. If anyone plans on, we're still short a commissioner and I know Ann Jo travels sometimes during the winter or is planning to. Anyone else who plans, if you could help out, I'll send Adrian a list of when I might be in and out. I plan to be here all winter for the most part, but it's still a little bit of a thin commission if somebody steps off. So we would like to know who's going to be moving, traveling, so we don't end up without a quorum.
We're not gonna let Anjo whiff on us. There's Zoom in Arizona, there's Zoom.
And I'm happy to Zoom, but are we returning to in-person meetings? Were we doing that in January?
There's no final decision on their
Good.
return at this
In
time.
that case,
Yeah.
I will participate remotely wherever possible.
Okay, yeah. For the foreseeable future, as long as the governor allows it and it's a recommendation of the Board of Health, here we are.
Okay,
Thanks, Linda.
Okay.
Reprimand taken.
happy
Relative,
Thanksgiving, Anjo.
relative to an additional member of the commission, I think that we're going to see that by the middle of April, Gradwell is going to be disappearing frequently.
True. But you can
So,
still zoom in.
yeah, it really does beg the question, Adrian, I know you get a lot on your plate. I don't know if this is something your assistant can do, but I think we really need to fill that last spot if possible, just because, especially coming out of a pandemic, people are going to want to do things. So it's going to get tough.
Yep, I understand that and I appreciate that. I will tell you now, it's sort of the waning days of a current legislative cycle and administration. So that is something I can certainly put my focus on in January and make a point to discuss with the new administration as they are coming on board.
Excellent. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right, everyone, have a great night. Great seeing everybody.
Happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving,
Everybody
all.
enjoy their
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to all.
Bye-bye.